Hey, it's Trey Bolin, and this is Origin Stories, where I talk about new beginnings, fresh starts, pivots, and everything that you have to do as an entrepreneur to launch your business. I'm so excited to have my friend Kayla with us here today, and she's going to talk a little bit about her origin stories and the things that inspire her. The reason I'm excited to talk to her is because Kayla is an artist. So, Kayla, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I create unique artwork and I turn it into high quality products. So I digitize my artwork after creating it by hand, and then I reformat it and edit it so it's yeah can make high quality products. So. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, how long have you been an artist?
So I've been an artist pretty much my whole life. I did give up. Like I was mostly into drawing when I was a kid, and then as I got older, I tried to use other mediums like pastels, and I tried painting, but I was really hard at paint. Like it was really difficult for me to paint.
Mm,
So I was like, okay, this is a good challenge. Let me try to see if I can improve on these skills. Now, I, I kind of dabbled in that a little bit in college, and then I gave it up for a while. In 2020, when I started dating my now husband, I told him, "Oh yeah, I used to paint, but I'm not very good at it." And so he started to encourage me to start again, and
oh,
to, and he said, don't stop until you're happy with it. And so that kind of led me on this journey of creating like abstract art. And
that's amazing.
yeah.
I love how when like the person that loves us the most can give us that encouragement to try something new, or like you said, don't stop until you're happy or proud of yourself,
Yeah.
and it just shows how much they love us and know us.
Hmm. Yeah, like it was difficult because I would be doubting myself.
Mm.
And he's like, I see potential, you know?
Mm.
So
So you said that you doubted yourself. What do you think would be encouragement that you would give someone if they were doubting themselves?
I think it really helps to just keep going, but
Mm.
also not place too high of an expectation on yourself,
Yeah.
because you never know. Like when I was creating artwork, I'm like thinking, okay, it's not looking like what I've seen other people do, and so like
Mm.
comparing yourself to others is a sure way to
Yeah.
to reach failure,
Yeah.
because you're not the same person. You know,
Yeah.
you're your own person, and I think just embracing that part of yourself is most important, you know.
I feel like I have that passion too as a brand photographer, as a storyteller, as someone that loves to see people share their uniqueness because that's what makes you special,
Yeah.
And no two people are the same. We know that, we say that. Maybe there's things that you have in common with other people, but no one has your exact perspective.
Hmm.
So I love that advice to really be yourself and find out more about who you are in order to share that with the world. I think as artists, we really struggle with that comparison thing. We
Hmm.
see someone else being successful and we're like, maybe if I do what they did, then I can also have that same success.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because we need our own success,
Yes.
and I
And
really feel like it's when we fully understand who God created us to be that we
mhm.
can kind of settle into that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we want to be individualistic, but
Yeah.
yet we're trying to be the same as everyone else, or we're trying to be better. And it's like, it's not a comparison game, you know? We're all gifted differently. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to really just, you know, like I have the gift of painting and stuff like that. And yeah, it's gotten better over time, over the years, because I'm working on it. You know,
Mm,
as you continue to work on these skills and these things, like I would learn more about art history, and I would learn about different techniques and things like that, and how can I incorporate that into my work and make it my
yeah.
own, instead of
Yeah.
trying to copy these famous artists that have
Mm,
gone before me. It's like, okay, I can learn from their techniques and I can learn from other people, but it needs to still be my own.
Yeah, that's so wise to keep growing, keep learning, but
Mhm.
then also bring yourself into the project. Now,
Yeah.
I know that you're new in your journey as an entrepreneur and you're just starting out. So, I
Mm.
am curious, what has been like the biggest pivot that you've had to make so far? I know there's a couple of unique things about your story, and I'd love for you
Mhm.
to share a little bit about the pivots and maybe some of the bumps in the road that you've experienced in the beginning here.
Well, there's been a lot of challenges along the
Yeah.
way. It's like trying to get it set up, and
Mhm.
first of all, it's like deciding, okay, what's my business going to be? What am I good at? So I think
Mhm.
identifying what I'm good at, what's what makes sense, and for me, like I mostly design shoes, and that's something that kind of stood out to me. Instead of following everyone else that's making T-shirts, it's like I'm doing
Mhm.
something different, and it doesn't mean that um, yeah, that what I'm doing is like not going to work out. It's just, yeah. So I think that was kind of a pivot for me is when I got my first sample pair of shoes after I designed them. That because I was feeling discouraged. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is a good idea. I
Mm.
think I'll just give it up. I'll do something different. I'm not going to sell shoes. So that was a big moment for me was getting my first pair of shoes. Um, I guess like networking, that's been a
Yeah.
huge one for me. Um, Actually joining the profitable business, the community. That was a big pivot for me. And I think it's
Mhm.
these small little things have made huge impact. Right now, it's trying to get my business license and to get all the tax stuff together. So it's kind of the nitty gritty stuff,
Yeah.
but it's necessary. If you had told me that like a year ago, this is all the stuff you're going to have to go through, I think I would have been overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thankfully, usually as a business owner or as we're going through the journey, it doesn't all hit us at once.
yes,
There is a step-by-step process. And like you're saying, you learn and you grow as you're
mhm,
developing through this process. Um, I'm curious, what is your favorite thing to create? I know that you said you're like into abstract art, you love to do
mhm.
shoes. Are there patterns that appear over and over in your work? Are you like drawing abstractly? Is it more painting, splattering? I'm curious about the process because I've seen some of your artwork and I'm like, how does she create this? Don't tell us the secrets, but I'm curious how it happens.
Oh my gosh, it's been it just depends on how I feel. Sometimes I'm
Okay.
like, okay, I'm gonna work with only shapes, or I'm gonna work with one or two colors. So I it doesn't look like anything in not it doesn't really look like much until it's put together. So I'll just kind of have this blank canvas. Sometimes I'll throw paint at it.
Okay.
I'll throw paint at it, or like I'll just grab like a piece of cardboard or a stick or something, and I'll start painting with it. So
Yeah.
I do challenge myself, like with different artwork. Sometimes I'm like, okay, how can I challenge myself today? And so I'm like thinking, okay, maybe I'll tape up the canvas and then I'll paint over it. Or
Mm.
I will work with only shapes. Or I'll work with, so I just kind of narrow it down, like what I'm going to work with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just go from there.
That's so interesting. I think, I'm an artist, but I'm using camera to help me capture things, or I do floral crafts. I did that in my past hand making florals. So I really love the idea of creating a painting, but I've never done one and I'm a little afraid. I'm like a paint by numbers kind of person. Tell me what to do to make it look beautiful. Um, and I just love that you're like creating from nothing.
Yeah.
That's really exciting to play with it and then see
Mm.
something come from the nothing, if that makes sense.
Well, and something that I've noticed with that I've kind of learned as I've done painting is I've made so many mistakes. Pretty much all of my
Mm.
artwork is like happy accidents, quoting Bob Ross.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I don't know where it's gonna go. I just see like, oh, I like this color and I like this color, and I just kind of put them together, and I work with whatever I have, put it on the paper, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna go from here. So, yeah.
I think that's really cool because that's a lot of what entrepreneurship is.
Hmm.
Is I have this idea, I'm going to start, and then as we grow and develop, more and more of the painting happens, and you're like, "Oh, I've learned this technique or that technique or how to
Hmm.
do this type of sale or introducing me to this network of people." And before you know it, you stand back and you're like, "Wow, my business have grown, it's developed." You see that beautiful picture come through in your artwork.
And I think before, like what frustrated me with painting, why I gave it up for a while, is because I would try to paint something and I
Mm,
had a picture in my mind of how I wanted it to look. But anytime I put my like paintbrush on canvas, it never turned out how I expected. And so I got frustrated
yeah.
because it wasn't looking the way that I expected. And so it was really helpful with my husband encouraging me to keep going, you know. And as I kept going, I started to get a more clearer picture for what I was going for
Mm,
and how it was going to look. So,
that is incredible. And I love hearing that because so many times we think we know the right way to do it and the way that we want the thing to look in the end.
mhm,
And sometimes it's perseverance, keep going, or looking at it in a different way or adding more to it that helps it develop into the beautiful thing it's going to become.
and I think that's a great thing to say, even about like art, because with my artwork, there have been times where I will turn the canvas, like I'll turn the canvas upside down and
Mm,
see it from a different perspective. Just yeah, just to get a different perspective, I'll put it aside for a bit. Doesn't have to be completed overnight, and I think that says a lot about even business. I've expected, like, I wanted to start this business and launch it right away, but
yeah,
had I launched it a few months ago, I would have ran it into the ground. And
yeah.
I think that those little steps are so crucial to building
Mm.
something that's going to be beautiful and is going to be amazing. So, yeah.
I totally agree with you. And as I have started out as an artist, making hand rolled florals, knitting, selling my items, and then developing into the next thing and the next thing, and photography, and helping tell people's brand stories and helping people with their social media management, all of these different things. If I would have just jumped in and said, "Hey, I'm going to help you with your social media," and I had no experience with
Mm.
branding or photography of any of these other things kind of leading up into that, like everything led to everything, which led to the next thing and the next thing. And I think that's so interesting. Just like you're saying with your business, you wouldn't have been ready for that if
Hmm.
it happened too soon.
Yes.
And isn't that true in life? I'm so glad that God has a plan for our lives and that it goes his plan because I mean, I wanted to get married super young and I'm so
Me
glad I
too.
didn't. I didn't get married until I was 30. And that was super old in the realm of people that I was hanging out with. Everybody was married. I had been in 13 weddings and I was just like, oh, that felt so hard. But I'm
Mhm.
so glad that it took that time. And we waited to have kids. And there was part of me that didn't want to, but
Mhm.
just the timing of things, the going slow, the letting them happen when God wants them to happen in his timing. I think that's not only good for business, I think that's good for life. I'm not saying don't work hard,
Yeah.
put in the work for sure. But just allowing things to kind of naturally happen.
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I've definitely like pushed on the door to like try to get it to get open, only to
Yeah.
find out that it was a pull.
Yep. Yeah, me too. I mean, I just got married last year and I was 35 when I got married. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's this is not my timeline, but I'm so
exactly.
thankful that God has always been in control. And I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing, especially if you're a Christian entrepreneur, is to really just surrender to God, because everything belongs to God. And if He's
Mhm.
called you to do business, or He's called you to do whatever He's called you to, it's like, okay, why rush it then? You know,
Mhm.
if He's called you to do it, it's going to happen in His time, not yours.
Definitely. Definitely. So, I know you've had a lot of hiccups and bumps. What do you think the best way to approach these hiccups, bumps, or maybe even failures? What do you think the best approach is for that?
I think just step back and take a breath.
Mm,
I think the a lot of the hiccups that I've experienced have been because I've been hasty. Um,
yeah.
it's like, okay, I think there's an open door, and it's like maybe just slowly opening, but it's not ready to be wide open. And I'm like
Mm,
going in there and I'm prying it open. I'm like, okay, it's time, you know. So that was kind of some mistakes that I've made, which have cost me financially.
yeah.
Um, but it's, God is so good. He's a redeemer, and He's able to teach us lessons from them.
Hmm.
um, yeah, so I guess just being patient.
Yeah.
Sometimes things aren't going to happen as fast as you want or how you like them to happen. um, yeah, just being patient. Try to educate yourself. um, you know like, again, I'm just going to put a plug in for networking is huge.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Jason that said your network is your net worth. So
Yeah. No, it's totally true. And I know you were talking a little bit about educating yourself. Has there been any books that you've read that have really been beneficial to you as an entrepreneur?
yes, so actually, the book that by Maury Renee, Making God Number One in Your Business, phenomenal book. I just
Mm,
finished reading that not long ago. I lent it to my small group leader to read. She just gave it back to me today, so I gave it to my mother-in-law to read. Yeah, so that was phenomenal. Um, and also, I'm reading another book right now. It's Leadership Not by the Book. I actually have it
mm.
right here, so let me just show you. It's by the CEO of Hobby Lobby.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. Someone from another networking group recommended that. So, yeah, I think, because it's different when you're a Christian entrepreneur. It's like you want to, it's like you can take what other businesses are talking about, and that,
Yeah.
like, there's things to gain from that. But there's something more when you are hearing it from a Christian,
Hmm.
because, you know, as a not like there are certain things that God instructs us to do. Not all businesses
Yeah.
run the way that they should,
Yeah.
and yeah. So
I think that's great. What do you think was the biggest thing that you learned from making God number one in your business?
um, I think what I liked about that was realizing that my business is really not my business. It's
Mm,
I'm a steward of it.
yeah.
This is something that God's called me to do, but
Mm,
it's not my business. And
yeah.
so I think that kind of takes a lot of like pressure off yourself when you
Mm,
realize, like, okay, I'm just stewarding this. I'm just working for God. I'm not working for myself. One of the things I did like from her book was the pay it forward, being able to help other businesses,
yeah.
and I think that's something that's different among the Christian community versus the non-Christian community. You know,
Yes, I really love that pay it
Mhm.
forward attitude that she talks about.
Yes.
I know she's working on starting and launching Step Up Referrals. I think that's going to be amazing. So,
Mhm.
little plug for stepupreferrals.com. Paying it forward with your business is something that I feel like everyone should strive to do, whether or not you're a Christian. Putting out more good into the world is always something that I think should be on the forefront of our mind. So, thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready to close the interview, I would love to know if you had advice for someone just starting out like yourself, an entrepreneur, maybe an an artist that's an entrepreneur, is there
Mm.
any advice that you would give or advice you wish that you got when you were starting out that you'd like to leave us with?
I would say if you have a vision for business, whether you're an artist or whatever, and you think it's not possible, I think just move forward. I
Mm,
also think it's important to surround yourself with people. Again, joining a networking group is a huge part. I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for all the network and the communities that I've been a part of, the people that God's really put in my life to help me along this journey.
yeah.
Because we can't do it alone. It's way too difficult to do by yourself.
Right. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, for coming on, sharing your origin story. Now, if someone wants to get connected with you,
Mhm.
where can they find Kayla Rose? Where should we look for your artwork? How can we get connected?
Okay, so I do have a Facebook group. It is a private group, but if you do click, it's Velvet Rose Studios. I will be launching my business hopefully in a couple weeks. My business is called velvetrosestudios.com. So yeah, if you just reach me on Facebook, on just find my group. My name on Facebook is Chloe Johnson. That's not actually my name. That's just my Facebook alias. So yeah, but yeah, just look for Velvet Rose Studios and we can get connected that way.
Well, thank you again. And thanks for sharing your entrepreneur journey and your origin story with us. We will see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.